Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My last video, engine bay restoration number 4 I think it was, so this is number 5. We ran out of shielding gas on the MIG welder, so I couldn't really go any further. So I've got some new gas now, and so I want to take you through the process of patching that lower area that we discovered with another small patch, and then we're going to have to put another patch on top, which I don't cover in this video. I may in subsequent videos. Let me know what you think and what you want to see. So let's get on with that little tricky area patch. Now we've got some new gas. So I started in on this corner here, okay, and what I did, I started to cut away. You know, I don't normally like to do that because, you know, you want to make your patch first, but what I did, I made one out of, you know, a bit of card, you know, folded over for my spot welds. Now I roughly marked it in now, got it marked in, bent this metal out of the way so I can come in with a drill on the inside to drill those spot welds out, because I can't get a drill in otherwise, and probably drill those ones out as well. Probably take part of this tab up. So this is like a little funny little shape with 2 tabs on it, and there is a drain hole here that I need to leave a gap with to drain out. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to drill these out, remove these tabs, and then get back to you. The patch comes out pretty nice. I haven't conditioned it yet, but that's come out pretty nice. You can see all those 12 marks as the sander. And like I say, it's a little deviation at the bottom here, but there's so much stuff on top of that, you know, the booster and all that, and the relays, you'll never see it, but it's pretty darn good. And I've got a nice crisp edge here. You take it off here, and then just slightly round it to get this kind of slightly radius edge here, so it's not too sharp. What I've done, I peeled this piece of metal. I got those tabs out of the way that I said. I ended up actually using my little mini belt sander, because there's a very controlled way of burning through the spot welds, and it's such aggressive paper, you can burn through that overlaid metal and then just gently peel it back without damaging the underside. But after I did that, I started to reveal more rust holes. See, there's a couple of rust holes and pitted metal here. So this piece is going to need replacing. Cut across here, probably lap onto, cut that lap off there, and then come this side. You can see, hopefully you can see that. See, there's a lap joint here, come down to about here and just replace it. Again, it's just moisture build up there. Probably this drain hole on this plate that was here got blocked and then just pitted the metal. So while I'm in there, so I have to build my way out again. So before I put this one in, I've got to put this one in. The reason this has gone kind of black is because I've shot it with Permatex to go into all the pits and to kill any rust. And I've been cleaning out all of the seam sealer there and just shooting in some Permatex right into the crevices. It's a pretty cramped area. I've pulled all the wiring loom, bagged it, moved it out of the way as best I can. A little cramped, but it's coming on. Like I say, that patch came out pretty well. As I say, it's all hidden under stuff anyway. So now what I've done a couple of very shallow exploratory cuts here. I want to make sure there's nothing behind here. Using the recip saw like an angle like they're just scoring through the top layer, and then what we'll do, we'll bend that back, and then we'll see, make sure there's nothing behind now that can get damaged. So no, it's a completely empty area. This piece here, you can see here, follows underneath here and dives down, so it's like a double wall here. So this is a double, there's an outer wall, or this is the inner wall, and then the outer wall. So we're clear, there's no wiring back there to worry about. So that's really good. So let me get this cut out. A little tricky to cut out right here. I would love to take this tab off here, and if I get in here and feel that I can make that cut across there, which is a real tricky cut, I might be able to make it with my little die grinder. Let's just see how we get on. just wanted to give you a little bit of a close-up. A little tricky to get in here, especially on this corner here, because you've got this under metal here that I don't want to damage, and I want a nice crisp edge here. And this metal's pretty good. What I may end up doing, because you can see this flat metal here, this is obviously a lap joint here and spot welded all along, and I want to be able to make that cut because I'd like to get rid of that pitted metal. And not only that, it'll be a lot easier to weld in with just spot welds along here, you see. And then I've got a folded joint here that's true, not welded, and then all I've got to do then is weld along here and down onto the other side here. You can't really see it, but so that's the plan. And consequently, to get this cut across here is very tight. So what I've got is angle grinder here, right, and I got a cutting disc and I just ran it onto the railroad track to wear it down a little bit to get the smaller diameter. So then we should be able to get it in here, you see, and make that cut and score that metal right there. I may even have to work this down a little more so it's a little much smaller wheel. So that's the idea anyway. So let me try and do that, and then what I'll do, instead of trying to drill the spot welds out on that lap joint there, on this guy, I'll just use my belt sander and just literally sand that metal so thin that it will just chip off of the under metal there. So funny how this patch, you know, started off with a couple of little small holes here and ends up being this big, but it's okay. You really, just because it's big, it doesn't really matter. It's just you want to get to good metal, you see. You don't want to be trying to weld onto pitted metal. And then obviously then we've got to prepare this upper one to go on top. Okay, see the cut I made along the lap joint there? Just scored it very carefully so I don't go through both layers. And now what I can do is break the spot welds of this tab, and then that should just lever off. It's like surgery. But no one's going to die if I screw it up. Okay, so that's that flat piece removed there. I've just got to get rid of that little burr there, right there. And now we can do a full patch, spot welded along there, nice and clean, pretty much as it was, and getting rid of all that pitted metal. So there's a tiny little bit of pitting up the top there, but that's not a biggie. So I will refine my patch. Obviously I've got to make a different patch with the lip now, and I'll get back to you when I've set it up and zinced it, ready for welding. Right, so I've made my patch up with this extra flange that we're gonna put on there. Hopefully you can see that. It's a little tricky with the camera. So anyway, so this obviously is dead straight. It needs to have a curve on it. So what I'm going to do is cut this tab to enable me to bend this slightly, right? And then this tab can be hidden underneath the one that is going to be after this. So, or I could just set a little triangular piece in there and just weld it in. So I don't have a shrinker stretcher which would enable me to essentially stretch this tab to enable the curve. I don't have one of those. I may well be getting one if I need it, but for this little patch we can make do. So let's try and make that gentle curve. I can fit this patch in here. I'll make the cut on this tab to enable me to bend this section, and then I can either cover that straight over with the lap weld that comes across over here and I fill this hole in, or I can just set a little bit of triangular metal in there and weld it in. I'll see how that goes. Alright, there we are. We've got a couple of magnets there. You can see the two spot holes, spot weld holes I've drilled. I've got a good fit all the way around. The flange is matching nicely. Let me see if I can get this side. Okay, you can see this side is pretty good. I've got a couple of holes drilled on for the spot welds, and we've got a good consistent little gap here, so I'm going to weld that in and smooth it all out and get back to you. I took my time on that to get that as good a fit as possible, even though we're getting it covered. It just bugs me if it doesn't fit properly, basically. And The way I look at it, these kind of patches that are deeply hidden like this, you want to try and make them as close as possible, and also it's good practice, you see, for when you're working on patches that really are more visible. Like I say, this will never be seen again, this side, because it's got obviously the mud shield covering it, and there's whatever under seal and stuff I treated with, and on the inside you'll never see it on there either, because you've got the brake booster and everything covering it, and various lines and cables and stuff. But on principle, you want to get it as close as darn it, and then you know it's done right. You know, when it's all buried under there, you know it's right, and you're not hiding stuff. You know, that just bugs me, that does, but that's just me. But like I say, it's good practice, these fiddly patches in these awkward areas. So let me get that welded in and I'll get back to you. So I'm part way through welding. I thought I'd stop here. See this front seam here? This part of the new patch was dropping below this. So what I did, I carefully tapped this out this way, inserted my reciprocal saw and cut a line. So it gave me a little bit more of a gap to be able to flex these two edges to make them nice and level, so I can run my nice spot welds here and then round it over and make it look like this. I'm finishing off the bottom here. I've got a couple of spot welds here. I sealed my little V slit that I cut in there with some spot welds. I put some others up top to hold it so it doesn't start buckling. So it's not too bad to weld it in, actually. It's a little easier than I thought. So I'm going to just weld this up and I'll get back to you. Well, okay, I got all that welded up and smoothed out. Wasn't as bad as I was expecting as far as access. I'm a little out there with the lap there, but I don't think that's anything to worry about. I'm glad that I did the lap over like this, because welding along this line would be impractical and it wouldn't look very good. So that join along there came out really nice. Smoothed it all out. Tiny little pinhole there, but you gotta weigh up. You don't want to start chasing your tail every time you see a tiny pinhole. I probably will pick that one out later, because that's just a quick shot and it's easy access and then smoothed out. This metal here is the older metal. It's pretty good metal, but because it's old metal, it just doesn't weld as well as the brand new metal. So you could end up just start blowing holes everywhere. And I did have a couple of holes blow out, and so I had to be very careful. I turned the power down a bit and kind of finessed it, concentrating the angle of the torch towards the new metal, not towards the old. So you're kind of building up on the edge and kind of bridging over if you start to blow through. But that came well. The edge looks really nice and clean and crisp. So that I'm pretty happy with. Little fiddly, but I think it's well worth it. Now we'll just got to cut this patch out and then bring that, make sure we've got our drain hole, and then I will coat this in a rust encapsulator, really to seal it off for rust, and also to tell me that that area is completely done. I'm kind of using it as a marker, you know. So anyway, I wanted to show you a few tools that were kind of very handy with this particular repair. As you know, I use these needle sanders. This is a 3/8 needle sander, very fine one, fantastic to getting in hard to reach places and grinds metal down no problem. So I really recommend getting one of these. A recip saw, really good for long reaches and fine and finesse cuts, you know. Obviously cutting wheels as well, but that's really good. Little flat blade screwdriver to kind of lever the patch and level everything. I use this clamp also to be able to clamp off anywhere on the body to get a good ground close to where I'm welding, so that's handy. Wire brush as I go. As you weld in 2 or 3 or 4 spots, you want to wire brush it, and then you can see where you've missed. That's kind of handy. Now this is, I picked this up at Home Depot, I think. It's not a screwdriver. It's just essentially what it is it's just a hunk of metal with a metal end, and that goes all the way through. So it's great for getting in behind the lap welds and just gently tapping rather than the air hammer. This is a little bit more of a finesse tool, so you can, if you know those air hammers, if you go at it, you can end up doing more damage. So I use this to break that original flat one free without damaging the under metal. Okay, and then obviously my die grinder, angle die grinder, with my discs and all that good stuff, and hammer and all that stuff. So I just wanted to review, show you. But this is really a fantastic, not particularly expensive. You don't go buying an expensive one, you don't need to, because you're not like you're going to be using it every day. But these are 3M belts. That's where you want to spend your money, on some good belts. And this is 60 grit. I have a 36 and a 60 grit, and then I switch over to 80 and then a conditioner dish just to finish off. But as you can see, this is going to get all coated anyway, so you don't, it's not like you have to, it's getting painted or anything. So this little series of patches in that corner has turned out to be a little bit more involved than I expected. But again, like I've said before, go to the deepest part, build yourself out. And main thing, don't be in a rush, you know. I never rush stuff, and if I get flustered or too hot or tired and that, just give it a rest, you know, and then come back to it another day when you're fresh at it. So that's my philosophy anyway. So can you let me know in the comments if you want to see more of these really highly detailed videos on the welding, because I'm glad to do it, but sometimes they can get a little repetitive. But each area has its own little particular challenges, but a lot of the information is good crossover to any part of the car, principles, you know, all that good stuff. So also don't forget to join us on Mercedes Maintenance and Mercedes Rescue on Facebook. It's a couple of groups I started some years ago, so I'd love to see you guys over there. And if you've got any more detailed questions or you want to PM me, it's probably best to do that, because YouTube's really set up to do that. It's not somewhere you want to start sticking your personal details. So anyway, so thanks a lot for watching, guys, really appreciate it. Click like, share, subscribe, and I always forget, click that little bell icon as well, and then you'll get to see videos as I upload them. So I will see you in the next one. Maybe it'll be this patch, maybe I'll jump on the rear axle, depends on the mood really. So have a good one, thanks again, take care, bye bye.